Circadian rhythms are basically the natural rhythm of what your body does. Behaviourally, physiologically, it kind of runs almost in like a 24-hour cycle, and this is found throughout nature. It's not just people, plants, animals, everything. It's basically the natural rhythm which makes sure your body does what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it.
We're interested in rhythms of activity and inactivity because they're so fundamental to life and fundamental to health. And what we're discovering from the UK Biobank is that there are important associations between disturbances in natural rhythms of sleeping and being active that are closely associated with an individual's risk of developing things like depression and bipolar disorder.
My PhD was mostly based around looking at circadian rhythms in individuals with depression and bipolar, mood instability and things like that. One of the things that I was particularly looking at were the kind of differences between your resting and active. So if you have a big difference between when you're very restful and when you're very active, you're less likely genetically to be at risk of things like bipolar disorder, depression, mood instability. But if when you're resting and when you're active are really similar, from a genetic level, you are more at risk of developing these kind of adverse mental health effects.
Increasingly, it's recognised in medicine that this is quite a fundamental area that probably hasn't been studied enough. But because of the mass of data that's available with Biobank, it's now possible to study this in a lot of detail, in a lot of people, and to make some real discoveries. Glasgow's been at the forefront of organising and working with the UK Biobank data. We've done this for all the detailed clinical information that's available. We've also done that for the genetic information that's available. And more recently, we've done that for the activity data that's available. So within our institute, we have a very multidisciplinary team. So I'm a clinician, a psychiatrist by training, but I work alongside statisticians, bioinformaticians, geneticists, data scientists, neuroimagers, people who work with biochemical data, genomic data. So it's really a very interdisciplinary, a very collaborative environment, and it really gets the best out of individual expertise in the most productive way that we can. Our work with Biobank has really been a lot about discovery. So the direct policy implications of that are perhaps not clear currently, but one area where there has been interest has been the fact that we discovered some genetic variants that were related to suicidal thoughts and behaviours, and that we were able to demonstrate that an individual genetic score for these variants could in fact predict people who ultimately sadly died by suicide. So when we in the future bring together these genetic risk factors with known environmental risk factors, then there becomes the potential to stratify populations and patient populations for much more targeted treatment than we currently have.